Hello everybody, welcome back to another video for the day. Now we're going back into r/niceguys stories, and if you'd like to be supportive for the channel and see more videos like these, absolutely decimate that like button, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. Alrighty, let's go. Our first story comes to us from username Phonetic Lace. Creepy coworker quickly becomes obsessive. Hi there, I'm new to experiences with nice guys and honestly wasn't really sure where to put this. This is a long one, so I'll put a TLDR at the bottom. I've got about 6 months of history with a former coworker who quickly went from a sweet guy that I would consider a friend to an obsessive, devious human being. I'd like to start by saying that I am a very empathetic, very trusting, and I always look for the good in people. A very easy target for someone like this person. For the sake of keeping things anonymous, we'll just call him Jim. I started this job in November of 2019 and was originally employed as a stalker. Within about 3 weeks of stalking, I was asked to be trained for the department that Jim worked in. They told me to find an employee from that department and escort me to the back and train me so that they could use me at any time they need help. Well, this person I ran into was Jim. It wasn't long before I was officially moved into that department by the middle of December because I was a lot better at doing that than stalking and my hours lined up better anyways. Being new and not entirely sure how to do much in that area, I usually asked Jim for assistance because he was nice to me and answered my questions with patience even if I came to him with the same thing over and over again. A couple of people had already informed me that he was strange and that I should steer clear of him, but as I mentioned, I like to see the good in everyone. About a week or so later, I was assigned as one of the closers. Normally, I close with Jim and 2 girls whose names I will leave out of the story. Jim had a tendency to walk me to my car after work, and that's when I asked him if I could add him on social media again. Keep in mind, I thought he was actually rather nice at this point and wanted to be friends. I was already in a relationship, but didn't have many friends and thought we got along well. It wasn't much longer after that, we started texting each other outside of work. We discovered we had roughly the same taste in music and would send links back and forth to each other while simultaneously getting to know each other. This is where things start to get strange. He discovered that I loved certain candies and would bring them in every day to work in exchange for me doing certain tasks for him at work that he didn't want to do. I figured, what the heck, at least I'm getting free food out of it. He began texting me more and more frequently after work and would make strange lewd comments. For example, I made a joke that I would haunt him and he kept pressuring me to watch a certain show that I wasn't interested in, and he would reply with, "At least I'm getting haunted by a cute girl ghost. Be sure to wear one of those Japanese schoolgirl outfits when you do that." What the frick? But I thought he was just joking. A lot of my guy friends play flirted with me and meant nothing by it. Around the beginning of March, my boyfriend, now ex-boyfriend, decided to move in together and started finding apartments. I thought Jim and I were well enough acquainted that I could share this news with him. When I told him I was moving out of town, he quickly became short and evasive towards me. I asked him what's wrong, why he couldn't be happy for me, and he said it didn't matter. "It doesn't matter, Jim," I said. "We're friends. I'd like to know what you're thinking." Jim asked me if what he said would make a difference, and I told him I would take it into consideration. He then sent me some of the creepiest poetry I've ever heard in my life, explaining his feelings for me and how badly he wants to take me from my boyfriend. Trying to be nice, which was a major mistake, I told him that the poetry was very sweet, but I had a boyfriend and wasn't willing to abandon a relationship of over a year for a guy I didn't really know. I thought it was the end of it, but boy was I wrong. Shortly after this, he started asking me for hugs at work and would touch my chest and my butt and play it off as an accident if I decided to hug him, which was very seldom. He would also stare at me continuously at work with pupils so dilated you think he was on drugs. At work, he was one person, but over text, he was a completely different person. He would be sweet and soft-spoken at work, but harsh and manipulative over text. No matter how many times I brought up my boyfriend or told him I was uninterested, he took that as a bigger challenge. He explained that he wanted to change my mind before I moved. When my ex and I got approved for an apartment, I knew that my time at this job was running out. So I informed my manager when my last day would be and I was looking to transfer. All this did was make Jim more desperate for my attention. He would ask me to hang out after work and I would refuse, and occasionally he would sit outside of my apartment while begging me to hang out with him. He would beg me to tell him how I felt about him, only he wanted me to tell him how he thought I should feel about him. I know you're thinking that I should have blocked him by this point or contacted the police, and you're right, but I worked with this guy and was quite frankly too scared to come forward and say anything to management or law enforcement. I only refused to get my ex involved because I was afraid of what would happen if I did. Once my coworkers got word of me moving in with my ex, they wanted to talk to me about it continuously. How's the moving going, Phonetic? Did your transfer go through yet? Are you excited? If Jim heard these conversations, he would say under his breath, unless something changes it. I remember also being sent a text saying, dynamics change, so can plans. After about a month of being asked to hang out, being asked about my feelings, I finally snapped. If I tell you what you want to hear, will you please leave me alone? Jim, of course, said yes. If I tell you exactly what you want, will you delete the messages? I know you'll try and use them against me if I don't. I'll delete them if you will, he said. So I did. I told him that back in 2016, I found him attractive and that if my anxiety didn't suck so badly, I would have tried to date him. That wasn't enough. He wanted something recent. I told him I suppose I still found him somewhat attractive to an extent, and if I were single, then perhaps we would hook up, but I was definitely not in love with him and didn't plan to be single. He wanted me to tell him that I flirted with him at work. I never did, and I still have several coworkers that can attest against that, but I was stupid and worried about what he would do if I didn't comply, so I said I did. That seemed to satisfy him enough, and I didn't hear much out of him after that. My ex and I moved in together shortly afterward, and he asked me to block Jim. I did as he asked me to, and the next day I discovered that Jim had allegations against him, along with some proof that I am unable to speak out on for legal reasons. I connected with someone who was trying to gather evidence for the police on this case, and submitted my story, along with how much I freaked up in this scenario, to him. Of course, I wished to remain anonymous. Jim somehow discovered that I spoke out against him and decided to post some slander of his own. He posted that I cheated on my now ex-boyfriend with him, or at least was planning to. He even got a few of his groupie friends to play along too. My ex, being in the fragile mental state that he was in, I won't go into that for his sake, believed what Jim was saying and refused to listen to my side of the story. I was kicked out the same day and sent back to live with my mother less than a month after moving in. Jim has remained blocked, and I have no further contact with him. I know he is fully aware of what he has done to me and likely brags about it because since I wouldn't be with him, he figured my ex shouldn't be either. TLDR, I befriended who I thought was a nice guy and that turned out to be obsessive and creepy. He decided to sabotage my relationship after discovering I spoke out against him less than a month after moving away and now has several allegations against him. Hopefully charges will be pressed eventually for the other things he has done. Hey Jim, you. Hoping things get better for you. Like, seriously, I do. Our next story comes to us from username Grey Eye Witch. Married coworker is nice to me, hoping it leads to more than just being work friends. It was a little surprising to me that I've made it through almost 30 years without coming across a nice guy, given that I'm usually nice to people, which to many a nice guy means I'm interested. But just last year, one scuttled across my path and decided to try his luck. This story spanned a few months, so it's condensed down as best as I could, with just the parts of him being awkward and showing his true colors in detail. This story isn't very funny, just very frustrating because nice guys don't take a hint, even if it's as subtle sledgehammer to the face. The married ones are no exception. Let's set the scene a bit. Nice guy and I worked at the same office but on different teams, so we don't have a lot of normal contact. Our groups are near each other, but I didn't really talk with him until that unfortunate day that I happened to smile at him while passing in the hall and made him feel something. His words, not mine, though I'm pretty sure I know that what he felt, but I have not ever been a man, so I cannot say for sure. So he decided to make his presence known. At first, he seemed harmless, just stopping by my desk once in a while, chatting about whatever was on his mind, nothing that came across as weird or creepy. We were about the same age, so again, nothing too weird at first about his attention. We chit-chatted for a few months, exchanged numbers, other workshop friend things, he lends me video games. Other than eating lunch together, he was always upset I brought in my lunch rather than eating out so we could go somewhere. This and a few other things started to make me think he might have a thing for me. But no, I was just misreading him. He wasn't hiding his wedding ring and did mention his wife, so he wouldn't think I would be so stupid or terrible as to get involved with him, right? It was one hot August day that he asked if he could tag along on my after-work walk. I was hesitant, but my curiosity was killing me. That feeling he had a thing for me never really went away, and being outside of work might give him the opportunity to make his move, so I would know for sure, so I agreed. But we were going to a park closer to work that I don't go to normally rather than the ones I go to closer to home just in case. We get to the park and start walking when things started getting real awkward. We did talk about normal things like music and video games, and when we found out we had a few things in common, he couldn't believe we hadn't become friends earlier. We were so compatible. But we didn't get far into the walk when he started with some of these odd questions and just statements he was making about me. I hadn't said much because I was rather dumbfounded at some of the things he was telling me, so I will just let you behold these bits of the conversation. I don't think you like outdoors very much. You're into Wicca? Cast any love spells recently? I never thought I'd find a girl with hairy armpits attractive. You've never had a boyfriend? Is for religious reasons? I actually don't think you actually want to be married. What's with the bucket hats? Have you talked to a doctor about your acne? It looks like adult acne. You should get that looked at. What happened to your windshield? The blazer I had been purchased with a cracked windshield, and coincidentally, my dad, being a mechanic, had a donor truck he was going to strip off its windshield because my family is big on reusing what we can, and he missed the point entirely and came back with this, "Wow, you're really frugal. Do you deserve someone to take care of you? What kind of debt are you in, if you don't mind me asking? You want to live alone in the woods? That's terrible. What do you want in a man?" I don't think he quite phrased it like that, but I did tell him that I need him to be a good dad and only need a man in order to fix my car and cook for me because I don't know how/like to do that myself. This was mostly a jab at him who didn't know how to cook or fix cars, that I was not interested, and I wasn't going to give him my spiel about how I don't need a man and don't like how it's phrased that you need someone to complete you, but that I would like a nice husband anywho and to do nice, cute, coupley things. And wouldn't you know it, nice and cute coupley things can't be done when you're sneaking around. Poor him. And saying that I only needed a man for labor, this was his response. That's horrible. I guess he's an expert. Should have listened to him on that. And I made a comment complaining about the bugs eating me, something about my blood being too sweet, and this was his response. If I wasn't married, there's a comment I would make. This really stunned me, and I guess he was finally paying attention to me because this is what he said when he noticed I was uncomfortable. You don't have a lot of male friends, do you? Yes, and they too made comments at me even though it made me uncomfortable. I just couldn't believe how this conversation was going. Why did he mention my armpits and acne? Other than trying in vain to lower my self-confidence, which was not going to work because if I really cared, I would cover it up or fix it rather than just let it be. And I wish the body hair had been enough to scare him off. The comment he made about me not like being outside when this was my idea was also just strange. I don't know if he was trying to push his likes on me and he didn't really like being outside, but didn't want to say it. Bit of a stereotype, but he is an IT Asian guy and a little doughy around the middle, so maybe he wasn't that into this. There's just a lot I don't understand when it comes to why he would say things like this, and just classed it as being awkward. Only 3 weeks later, he tried again. I hadn't really talked to him and he always reached out to me, but I tried to keep the conversation short and professional to not give him mixed messages. I had hoped he could drop this little crush, especially if I denied him my usual bubbly, kind of flirty responses that probably drew him in. He had texted me asking if I was okay because he saw me not smiling and was worried about me. I had to explain to him that just because I wasn't smiling didn't mean anything was wrong. My resting face just looks concerned/scared, especially without my glasses. He said sorry and just a worrywart. I doubt that. Not sure if he viewed me as his manic pixie dream girl to cheer him up so I'm not allowed to be sad, or if he was trying to seem like such a caring guy. Unfortunately, he just came off as smothering. He reached out one weekend asking for a second chance. He never had a first, but I just repeated what I told him before. No, you're married. He came back with this, what if I wasn't married? Seriously, I get that the bond, the oath of marriage, doesn't mean anything to him, but means something to me. I'm not too big in the sanctity of marriage. You can be married or not. I don't care as long as you care about one another and respect one another, are happy, all the good relationship jazz. He's shown he doesn't respect her. His oath means nothing, and his loyalty is seriously lacking. I was rather insulted by the fact that he knew I knew this and still thought I would be okay with it, that I would be okay with hurting his wife. I know how damaging cheating can be, not just to her, but myself as well. He also was posting on Facebook about how much he loved his wife, so he was either lying to her or me, but it doesn't matter because he's still a liar. And she visited the office one day and I heard him mention they were going to fix it so no more kids, which is not something you plan on doing if you're going to leave her. Still no, I would be the reason your family split and I could never get over that guilt. What if we waited a while after I got divorced? No. What if I was single, skinny, or taller when you met me? LOL. Wouldn't change your garbage personality. He's also not that short, maybe 5'6". I'm just 5'8", Viking descendant, and tower over some men. My opinion on the weight: fat can be temporary, but the gym and vegetables won't fix a personality. I also hate this nice guy thing where they think it's their looks that prevent them from getting the girl, but nope, just the attitude, which is never considered. I also hate LOL now. Thanks. No, I would never be interested in you, not being mean, just honest. Alright, I just wanted to be sure. I'm just wondering if things could be better, and if things would be different. I'm going to have to delete these messages. I don't want my wife to get the wrong idea. Here's the worst part of this conversation. They have 2 kids, one daughter at 4 and a son who had just turned 1 at the same time. He was texting me, begging for a second chance. Suddenly, his wife always wanting him to be home all the time because she works too made a ton of sense. I am still just completely flabbergasted at how low this man could get and how freaking dense he is. We had no compatibility, zip. I have a morals, he's a Christian, I'm not, and he knows this. He's an extrovert, his wife is an introvert and a homebody just like me, and he knows this. I like being single and I'm definitely not interested in being a married man's hobby, and he knows this. He wants to be single, got married because he was afraid of being alone, and lacks the introspection that all his problems are his fault. But we liked some of the same video games and music, so by middle school love logic, we were meant to be. And after all that, me crushing every hope and stubbornly clinging to, if it harm done, do that ye will, he still didn't get the hint. I posted the text on here before, but he sent me a message that his spirit was broken because I looked really good. But I don't like him the way he likes me. I didn't really respond at the time, just saying I didn't know how to respond, and he shot back how he knows and how sad that it made him. That I was once again so taken back by his blatant and hurtful manipulation. Honestly, how selfish could one person be? I don't like you, I'm not interested, trying to make me pity you is only going to make me mad. But later, he reached out again via Office Instant Messenger, and I told him I wasn't interested in talking to him anymore because his text really bothered me and to leave me alone. How long am I on the no talking list? I really want to talk to you. For 2 months he was on my no talking list, not because he actually respected the boundaries I set and understood that me not answering his messages meant I was still not interested in chatting with him, but because he left to get therapy. He came back and pretended like I hadn't told him I don't want to talk to him anymore. We were still friends. Am I really still mad at him? It's been so long. Hey, did you get my message? Yes. Are you still mad at me? Yep. What did I do? I don't think he fully understood my hatred of him at this point. You told me your spirit was broken because I don't like you like me. I don't remember sending that. I'm sorry. I just glared at him. I was not going to accept this garbage non-apology. What can I do to make it up to you? This is not forgivable. Leave me alone. And he walked off. And again, he did not get the darn hint. After a few days into the work from home thing we are doing at the office, he texted me again. "How are you doing? You still mad?" I did not answer. A few days later, this. "Hey, so still not talking to me? I'm going to have to spell it out for him, aren't I? No, so leave me alone and do not contact me again." "Okay, sorry. I was just wanting to know if you're okay. I didn't know you were still this upset. Again, sorry." And this was his entire problem. He would say something, make a comment I didn't like, either say sorry without meaning it or imply it's somehow my fault. He was just joking. I shouldn't take him so seriously. I knew his toxic and manipulative pattern now, so I spelled it out for him so he could not weasel out of this. I obviously haven't been very clear lately. I don't want to talk to you because I'm not interested in being friends with someone who doesn't respect me and can send messages that make me uncomfortable. Goodbye. It's been almost a month and thankfully nothing more from him. I'm surprised he didn't get shoddy with me when I rejected him so fully, or at least some groveling that I was really hoping to avoid, or trying to use his depression as a shield as he was already using it as an excuse for his behavior, which my stance is that mental illness may be the reason you treat people poorly, but it's never an excuse. But then again, he would have to tread carefully on how he treated me, as I could easily go down to HR and file a complaint, which I hadn't done before because I wanted to make sure the complaint was not going to be dismissed, but now have it in writing that I told him to back off, which I feel will really help my case if it comes to it. I'm also really big into fixing my own problems if there's no immediate threat to myself or others that don't like pulling others in private business. I realize now that I probably should have involved people in this private business because secrecy only benefited him. Also, because he might be afraid I would tell his wife, which is also part of the plan if he reaches out again. At the time, my old college roommate pointed out she probably wouldn't believe me because it was just talk, given that he also mentioned that they were going to marriage counseling and he was in therapy. It didn't feel like the right time. I could have easily been swept under the rug that he just had a moment of weakness. A terrible blonde woman tempted him and he fell for it, but was trying to work on it. I bet she knew something not work-related was going on between us since he mentioned deleting his text, unfriending me from a few socials, and complaining about her checking up on him. But given that he was a liar and manipulative, he probably would spin it that I was the one who started that since I smiled at him. I also wasn't interested in playing along to trap him and give his wife absolute proof of how terrible he was because my face is too loud when I'm disgusted and I could never pull it off. So what now? Well, I'm content with shaming him anonymously, like through the internet webs, and I am keeping an eye on his socials in case I see something that I should report to HR. But also ensuring that if he tries this again, I'll be ready to shame non-anonymously. I really like the idea of his church having a sermon about adultery and how it still counts if it's just in the heart, and have the text he sent me as examples. But I doubt the pastor would want to participate in this shaming revenge, so telling the wife and his friends will have to do. TLDR, married Christian man tried being nice to convince a single hippie coworker into an extramarital affair and only succeeded in showing how not nice he was. And with that, that is going to have to be it with the video. If you would like to be absolutely amazing supporter for the channel and you want to see more videos like these, be sure to like the video, comment down below what you liked about the video, and if you have not already, subscribe and turn on those notifications. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.